Gather around, children of the 2000s. We're going to be taking a trip back to a time when flannel was a personality trait, classic rock was the official soundtrack of hunting, and the biggest mystery in a Winchester's life was what diner had the best pie. Talking about the golden age of Supernatural, the television series. Now, I was a fan back in the day, but I'll admit I kind of gave up on the show around season 5 or 6. It was around the time when Dean was like traveling back into the past, and also when he like met up with his grandparents and stuff. Just the whole like angel demon apocalypse plot started feeling like a cosmic soap opera, and I just didn't really care for that. Don't get me wrong, the latter seasons had its moments, like the Scooby-Doo episode, but I always preferred the simpler, spookier vibe of the early seasons. The whole monster of the week formula, just two brothers in the car saving people, hunting things, that whole shtick. So imagine my shock when I find out that Dynamite Comics is not only doing a supernatural comic, but one set smack dab between seasons 1 and 2. So we're back right in that sweet spot. Sam's still fresh from the trauma of Jess. Dean's still mostly just a charming disaster. And their biggest concern is a case and gas money. So yeah, let's crack open this issue and see if this actually feels like Supernatural, or if it just feels like another fan fiction with pretty pictures. So the issue kicks off not with our boys, but with a classic horror opening, straight out of the Supernatural formula. We've got a guy named Richie, and he's stumbling out of his house with a bottle of whiskey, and he's yelling to his wife Gloria, who's inside. And he's giving off this whole, like, I've made a terrible deal energy by shouting, "It's all happening. Everything we always wanted, I'm making it happen, no matter what it takes." So right off the bat, you already know something's going to happen with this dude, and sure enough, his eyes go black, he trips, and the whiskey bottle cracks on the porch steps. And all of a sudden, smoke just pours out of it. And the next thing you know, his arm ignites, and he's consumed in a pillar of flame. And there's your teaser. We then cut to our boys, Dean and Sam, in a diner. Dean is immediately 100% Dean. He's flirting with the waitress with all the charm of a used car salesman. And Sam's brooding like he's auditioning for an early 2000s emo album cover. And everything feels exactly like season 1 again. That's when he suddenly has a vision of Jess burning on the ceiling. Which, if you remember the show, was the whole reason he got dragged back into the monster hunting life. But this time it's different. He's awake. He's not dreaming. Which, usually means bad news in Supernatural land. So they hit the road, and Dean's complaining about the car's accelerator being too touchy, and that's when we get the news that this is not their Impala. Apparently, they couldn't afford gas for the real one, so they stole a loaner, which, wait a second. The loaner car that they stole is also a black 1967 Chevy Impala, the exact same model. So just take a second to appreciate the astronomical reality-bending odds for this. How many 67 Impalas are just sitting around in perfect working order, just waiting to be stolen by the two guys who famously drive a 67 Impala? That's like saying you stole a loaner Batmobile. It just doesn't happen. But whatever, let's keep going. So they roll up to Windler, Wisconsin, which is home of Windler Breweries, which sounds like the kind of place where every beer tastes faintly like regret and burnt malt. And outside the brewery, there are scorch marks all over the walls. And they go to meet Gloria, who is the widow from the beginning of this issue. And she's already out front of her house cleaning up the remains of her husband's spontaneous barbecue session. And Dean and Sam do the whole classic FBI bit. They introduce themselves as Agents Roth and Halen. So we get a nice Van Halen reference there. And Sam, being the empathetic one, offers to help her and immediately picks up that she's not exactly broken up about her husband becoming a Human Torch. She unloads on him. She tells Sam that Richie never got a raise, that he invented stuff that made the brewery owner millions, and yet they still lived in a dump. She says he kept talking about their ship coming in, but all he did was drink. And then she drops the cause of death, spontaneous human combustion. So we cut to another diner, because this show and this comic runs on coffee and pie. And the brothers are debating it. Sam, the Stanford guy, is like, there's no such thing as spontaneous human combustion. And Dean, in true Dean fashion, just hits him with, A lot of things that aren't a thing turn out to be things, Sam. Which, to be fair, yeah, he's right. I mean, you fought a shapeshifter, you fought a Bloody Mary ghost, a Wendigo, but somehow spontaneous human combustion is where you draw the line. That's the bridge too far. So Dean, ever the pragmatist, he doesn't really care. He tells Sam that his EMF was silent while he was investigating Gloria's house. So this is science crap. Our business is horror. So he's just ready to write this whole thing off as a drunk guy and a tragic accident. So while they're debating the science of human fireworks, they're interrupted by a woman named Effie, who works at the brewery. So she leads them to the brewery and takes them to the development lab, which is completely torched. The walls, the tables, everything's covered in burn residue. Dean finds a broken whiskey bottle. He waves the EMF detector over it, and the thing starts going off like crazy. And Effie instantly recognizes the tool and realizes that Dean and Sam are ghost hunters. And she reveals that her bosses told her to put salt along all the doors and windows, claiming it was to absorb chemicals, which is either the worst safety regulation ever or a huge red flag. Effie, doing the smart thing, looked it up online and found out that salt can be used to trap ghosts, which means that whoever told her to salt the doors wasn't trying to protect her, they were trying to contain something. And that something turns out to be an imp. And according to John's journal, if you trap one in a bottle, you get immense riches. But there's a catch. And that catch is that whoever does the trapping gets cursed and will eventually lose their soul to hell. So yeah, big trade-off. Great riches, but eternal damnation. Suddenly, the air outside the lab starts swirling with fire, and the imp's there. It's angry, it's looking for blood. It can't get inside because of the salt, so now Effie, Sam, and Dean are stuck in a literal fire trap. Effie's panicking. She confesses that she heard weird noises when Richie was working, and reveals that she was there when he bottled the imp. So now it's coming for her. She begs her brothers to tell her how to stop it, and they start flipping through the journal, and it turns out that the only way to capture it again is to have someone willingly perform the ritual, meaning that someone's got to condemn their own soul to hell to trap it. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it on that cliffhanger because the solution to this problem has a really clever twist that I generally did not see coming, and I want you to experience that for yourself. So what's the final verdict on this comic? Well, for the writing, I thought it was pretty spot on. The writer seems to understand these characters. The banter is perfect. Dean's voice, Sam, exasperation, their whole dynamic, it's all there. There's no flanderization, no making them characters, no OOC-ness from the two. It feels like a lost episode from 2006. The art is solid. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's more than serviceable. The most important thing is that Sam and Dean look like Sam and Dean, which honestly is all I really ask for when it comes to licensed tie-in comics. The biggest win is that it's a self-contained story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's no cliffhanger. There's no setup for it to be continued. It's like reading a lost episode from season 1, and that's something the show's later seasons desperately missed. So yeah, it feels like the show before the whole myth arc got so heavy it started to sag. It's just two brothers and a monster. So if you're like me, and you fell off the supernatural train after it started getting too cosmic, this comic will be a welcome return to form. It's pretty much a love letter to the salt and burn days, to the weird monsters in John's journal, and just two brothers in a very, very specific car just trying to do the right thing. So yeah, Supernatural 1 from Dynamite Comics. Decent art, surprising in character writing, and a nostalgic return to when Supernatural was still about monsters and not metaphysics. But I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the comic? As well as for those of you who watched the series, are you a early season or a late season Supernatural fan? Let me know down in the comments below, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.